Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Matty here from Chill TCG. So today, we're back with our weekly video series, our Chilling Reign meta-analysis. It's week number 2 of this new Chilling Reign format. We're going to be taking a look at all the best decks from this past week of online PTCGO competition. Before we get into that, I want to let you guys know that Chill Series number 38 is coming up tomorrow as I record this on Wednesday. It's going to be great. Chill Series 38, we have 250 Chilling Reign packs in the prize pool. And it's going to be a great tournament, 100% free to enter, and we go live at 6 p.m. on Wednesday. So yeah, go check it out. It's going to be super fun, and I really can't wait. We already have 227 people registered, so it's going to be, you know, a decent-sized tournament. I cannot wait. Okay, anyway, we're going to go to the completed tab, and we're going to take a look at some of the, you know, more sizable events from this past week. We're going to take a look at the decks that did well, and it's going to be a lot of fun, so I really cannot wait. We're going to try to hit up on as many different decks as we possibly can. That's what we do here in this video, you know, we'll just get right into it. So I think the first one that I'm going to start with is this Australia TCG, Misty's Collectibles, standard Chilling Reign Series number 1. So definitely super cool. 120 people in this tournament. We can't actually take a look at the metagame here. It just doesn't... oh, no, we can. It's up here, sorry. So the metagame, actually, Ice Rider and Shadow Rider were the most played decks, and then ADP, and then... actually, ADP was the most played deck, but there were 2 different categories, and then it goes down to Luke Metal, Urshifu Inteleon, E-Turn. So definitely pretty interesting nonetheless. We did have a Shadow Rider win this tournament. Kind of, you know, normal. I guess Shadow Rider is a list that typically... you know, wins a whole lot right now, especially in this new format. So this is a really cool Shadow Rider list. It's very similar to the list that made finals at Chill Series this past week. A lot of similarities here. The 4-4 Calyrex lineup, the 2 Gengar Mimikyus, and the 1-1 Alcremie lineup. I do like that. We're not running Path of the Peak here. We're running 2 Chaotic Swells. We have the Tool Jammer in here as well, which I do think is kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, we still have the Mars Shadow on top of 2 Chaotic Swells, so we're not going to be falling victim to those Path to the Peaks anytime soon. And we still have 2 Dedenes to draw some extra cards in here, as well as 4 Research, 3 Marnie. So I like this list. I do. It's interesting that we're only running 11 basic energies. 14 total is pretty normal. But with only 1 Zapdos, I think running 3 Aurora energies seems to be like a pretty decently high count. I think if you're running only 1 Zapdos V, you probably only need 2 Auroras. I guess if we're running 2 Zapdos Vs, then 3 Aurora energy would be pretty, I guess, correct. But, you know, I don't know. I mean, you know, it's interesting nonetheless. So, yeah, I mean, this is, you know, typical Shadow Rider. Nothing too crazy going on here, if I'm being 100% honest with you. We'll go ahead and we'll take a look. My tabs are here on the left, and I don't know how to change that. So we're just going to go back to this guy here. Yeah, okay, we're in the right spot. I got to get used to that. Okay, so this next list, actually, that got second, Ito. This first guy was Izmir. So the Ito is running Urshifu Moltres, which was an archetype that I'm actually not really familiar with at all. So it's definitely kind of interesting. Let's take a look at this. So this guy, of course, he's running a 3-3 Urshifu lineup with 3 Galarian Moltres V. So again, kind of a fighting type and a dark type combination. Can be really good. Of course, we're hitting for weakness on dark type, but we're also hitting for weakness on psychic type. So, you know, we have Urshifus to deal with Eternatus, but we also have the Moltres, which is going to counter our weakness, which is Shadow Rider Calyrex. It's actually a really smart deck idea, and one that I actually really do like. So, it actually goes pretty well. If you think about it, Urshifu does have a colorless energy and its attack cost. So, you know, we can go ahead and attach the Rapid Strike energy to that Urshifu, and then we can attach a Dark energy as well to finish off, to get the G-Max Rapid Flow out. And I actually do kind of like this combination here. 3 Galarian Moltres Vs makes sense, I suppose. You know, really want to deal with the high counter of Shadow Riders, which are really popular right now in this format. This deck, of course, did lose to Shadow Rider, but, you know, it was interesting to see that he was at least teching for that matchup. So, yeah, so 3 of those with 6 Dark Energies. He was running the Scoop Up Net Jirachi engine, which I'd like to see. 1 Dedenne, 1 Crobat. We have the Passimian in here, which is good. I think that should be run in Urshifu right now. I think it's a really good card in Urshifu decks. 1 Goon goes well with Scoop Up Net. And we actually have one of the Assault Gate Hoopas, not the Evil Admonition. So I think that Evil Admonition Hoopa, the older one from the last generation of Pokemon cards, that one's a bit better against Shadow Rider because all of those Pokemon have abilities, and of course that Hoopa does more damage for the more Pokemon on your opponent's board with abilities. And you can do some more decent damage there, but this Hoopa is consistently doing 90 damage, which is 180 on a Shadow Rider Calyrex, which I do think is really good. And we have 4 Scoop Up Net, so there's a lot of switching outs in this list as well. We're running Viridians to find those energies, as well as get the Dark Energies in the discard pile. So I think this list is actually really clever. It has a whole lot of synergy, and this is one that I actually really like, and we might have to make a video on this one coming up here on the channel. So this one's super cool. 4 energy switch as well, which I think is smart if you're running Moltres. A high energy switch count is very good. We can only switch basic energies around though, so it's interesting, and we got to keep that in mind. But we can move those dark energies around however we want to, really, and I think that's definitely super clever. So one of the coolest lists that we've seen so far. I love how people are combining different lists. Let's take a look at this Blissey, and then we'll move on to a different tournament. So this guy here. Okay, so this is kind of typical Blissey here. Nothing too out of the ordinary. This is Crushing Hammer Blissey. Sometimes you see, because we see here that he's running 4 Hyper Potion, which is really good in Blissey for sure. But sometimes we see that people are running Psychic basic energies instead of the Fire basic energies, and we run some Suspicious Food Tins to heal some extra damage off of the Blissey as well, on top of the Hyper Potion. But this deck is kind of foregoing that. We're just running the 4 Crushing Hammers. But we still have Path to the Peak. We still have Cape of Toughness, Draw Energy, Lucky Energy, Powerful Energy, Weak Guard Energy, all special energies, which are phenomenally good in this Blissey deck. I do like Aurora energies in Blissey because we can discard other energies in the process, but we have Hapu to do that for us, so we're going to look at the top 6 cards of our deck. We put 3 of them into our hand, and then we put the other ones, we discard them, actually. So that's actually really good, if you think about it, right? I mean, we want to discard a lot of cards with this deck, so the Hapu count, the high Hapu count is really good, and we can find those Hapus with Pokegear 3.0. A lot of other cards that discard cards as well, Research, Quick Ball, and we're running 4 of each of those, 4 Path to the Peak. So it's a really cool list. Blissey is good. I don't think that it's like the best deck in our format, but the fact that it got 3rd or top 4 in this tournament actually really does say a lot. Blissey's also a list that not many people have really, I guess, tested probably too much. Like, no one's really super refined a Blissey deck, a Blissey V deck. So that's something that, we've probably yet to see the best version of this list, at least for this format. But I am interested to kind of see where that goes. And Blissey is really fun. I know a lot of people like Blissey, so we love to see it. I guess I'm going to quickly take a look at this Brandon here, his Inteleon list. We might as well just take a look at Inteleon while we're here. So this Inteleon list is pretty nifty. Now, of course, this is a list that does struggle against Mew, of course, because, we have our main goal here is to do damage to the bench, spread damage. But this is just Inteleon, just like that one Tricky Gym video he made. So we're running Inteleon V and VMAX, but we're also running the it's funny, we have 4 different Inteleon cards in this deck because we have the V, the VMAX, which are both Inteleon, and we also have the Sword and Shield base set, Shady Dealings Inteleon, and we also have the Quick Shooting Rapid Strike Inteleon from Chilling Reign. So a lot of different Inteleons in here, but they actually have really good synergy. We even have a 1/1 Snom Frostmoth lineup, which I do find to be pretty interesting as well. And we're running Path to the Peaks, which is cool. And then the new Melanie card, which is definitely going to be really useful here in Inteleon. So I like this list. I think it's really cool. I don't know if Inteleon will be really super viable until Mew rotates. I think a lot of people still have Mew in their lists. That makes things a little bit difficult if you're playing Inteleon, just because if you can't do that 60 to the bench, you're really only just doing 160 for 3, and that can be a little bit underwhelming. But I do really like Inteleon right now. Not a whole lot of peak ROM either, which kind of makes sense, all things considered. So, maybe, you don't have many things hitting you for weakness at least, so that's pretty cool. So, cool. Taking a look at Inteleon. You love to see it. Let's move on to a different tournament here. We'll go back a couple times. Okay, we're just going to go here. And, okay, so let's take a look. So that was the Australia TCG tournament. Super cool. Next up is Lux Series, Season 1, Week number 4. This was free entry, 162 players. You love to see it. So let's take a look at this tournament. And this is actually... Okay, so we have some cool lists that we can take a look at here. We're going to probably only take a look at just a few of them. Shadow Rider did extremely well in this tournament. Lots of them here in top 16. And no Ice Rider either, actually, which is pretty interesting. Lots of Urshifu Inteleon, which seems to be the best way to play Inteleon right now. But the deck list that won was Lucky Boy here. And this was, of course, Malamar VMAX. And this is a list, it's actually kind of a mix. So this is actually Mew 3 like Dark Box mixed with Malamar VMAX, which is very interesting. But I actually do quite like this. So the reason I like this is because we have Mewtwo, which can utilize the attacks of Weavile GX or Umbreon and Darkrai GX, which is really good because we're actually a Psychic-type Pokemon. We're not weak to Dark, that's having a Psychic-type attacker as well as a lot of Dark-type attackers in our deck can actually be really beneficial for sure. But the Malamar VMAX is really interesting. This was a list that kind of popped up, recently, which I do find to be a little bit interesting. Of course, Malamar VMAX does 180 for 3, which is quite good, and we can also look at our opponent's hand and we pick a card out, and I think we put it on the bottom of their deck. or we discard it. I'm not sure with Malamar VMAX, but it's actually a really strong effect. The only problem with Malamar is it's kind of inconsistent when it comes to getting 3 energies on this thing. We kind of achieved that, of course, by accelerating energies to Galarian Moltres V with Dire Flame Wings, and then we can move those energies with Weavile GX, which I actually really think is a neat strategy. And of course, we have the whole Mewtwo, Umbreon, and Darkrai going on. So this list is really cool. Red and blue can help us evolve into that Weavile GX, I believe, is what that card does. So I really do like it. 1 Chaotic Swell, 1 Viridians. We have a Cheryl in here as well, which I think Cheryl should see play in any deck that's running Weavile and you're moving energies around. Only 8 basic energies, 1 capture. So it's a really interesting deck. It is, for sure. But one of the coolest decks I think that we're going to be taking a look at here today. And Malamar VMAX just doesn't get enough credit. Realistically, it's just not a super popular card. I believe it came out in Rebel Clash way back in the day. Might have even been Darkness Ablaze, but just didn't really see a whole lot of play when it came out. There just wasn't a great way to play it. But now I think with Galarian Moltres V, Malamar actually has a pretty significant engine to it, a draw engine, a way to accelerate energies too. So I think it's cool. And again, I've never seen this list before. It's pretty unique. Realistically, and it's cool that it actually won this 160-player tournament as well. That is actually kind of crazy. So I'm actually not going to take a look at any of this other stuff. If you guys want to take a look at a Luke Metal list, you can take a look at the one that won Chill Series, which I made a separate video on. You guys can go check that out. Yeah, we're not going to take a look at Luke Metal here. We're not going to cover ADP. We're going to move down, and we'll probably maybe cover it a little bit later. Yeah, so that was, that was worth it right there. Shout out to the Lux series. Malamar, man, pulling in strong. Love to see it. Next up is Yusha Cup warm-up, full art, Marnie plus golden item free. So interesting for sure. Kind of probably one of these more Asian tournaments, as we can see. Lots of Asian representatives here. But lots of interesting lists to take a look at. So this meta was very different. You'll oftentimes see that the more Eastern zones, right, the other side of the world, players often have a different metagame that they play, and we can kind of definitely see that here. We still have ADP, but we have a couple Pikarom here in top 8, which is a little bit different. We actually had a Rillaboom Rillaboom get second in this tournament. We'll take a look at that as well. And we actually had a single strike Urshifu. So let's take a look at this Rillaboom Rowegg list. Interesting. Okay, so this is definitely interesting. A list that, again, we just don't really get to see a whole lot of. So this video is panning out to be a pretty unique video in terms of deck lists. I really do enjoy it. So, of course, this is, Rowegg. Typical kind of Rowegg stuff. We have the Rillaboom engine, Super Growth with Rowlet, Alola, and Executor. We have Double V, which goes really well in this Grass-type archetype. But a lot of different things here. We have a Blissey V, which is really cool, and I quite like it as well. We have a lot of energies, and it just kind of makes sense, perhaps, that Blissey is, a really good attacking option in the list. But we also have a Galarian Zapdos V, which can be easily techable in here. Especially considering that we are running in just one Aurora Energy, but perhaps maybe that's enough. We can find that with one of the 2 Goose Mahalas that's in our list, because we are running the Tag Call engine. Path to the Peak as well, which is interesting that Path is in here since we are running Blissey, Crobat, Double, Zapdos, Eldegoss, Dedenne. These are all cards that can't use their abilities when Path to the Peak is in the active, but we do have a Marshall to get rid of it if we ever want to get rid of it, and we also have a Wonder Lab as well. So it's super interesting. And a list that you probably won't see too often, or really see do well again. And I don't know if this is really making waves right now in our format, but definitely really interesting. Yeah, Rowegg actually saw quite a bit of play last format as a sort of a psychic type deck. So now it's interesting to kind of see it come back a little bit different. So what I want to take a look at here is, well, actually, we took a look. Yeah, we'll take a look at Single Strike Urshifu, just because we didn't actually get a chance to look at it last week. And this is, yeah, okay. So nothing too crazy here. What I do find is interesting is he has one promo Single Strike V and 3 normal ones, but he only has 2 VMAX. So, he's running a 4-2 lineup, which I don't know about that. Maybe that's just because he didn't have the cards, or he was missing the cards. I'm not sure. Maybe that was a strategic play on his part. Just hopefully you don't prize one. That might make things a little bit interesting. But the big advantage that Single Strike Urshifu has, or this archetype has right now, is that we can actually throw in Tyranitar V, which is an extremely powerful Dark-type attacker, which can easily handle Shadow Rider Calyrex. So it kind of covers your weakness, right? So that's, just kind of something to keep in mind. I think that the single strike archetype really could come back, in this format or see some more play, because single strike Urshifu can one-shot a Calyrex, right? So if you don't get knocked out first, you can actually one-shot a Calyrex VMAX, and you're actually one-shotting Calyrex, or you're one-shotting anything with single strike Urshifu VMAX, really, but with Tyranitar, just for the 4 energies, you're also one-shotting as well. So it's interesting for sure. We have a Jirachi to cover a Psychic weakness. Kind of always needed when you're playing single strike Urshifu. Everything else in here is pretty much standard. Nothing too crazy. We do have a Mew in here and an Oranguru, which I guess is a little bit different. But yeah, single strike Urshifu, man. Who would have thought? It's kind of coming back. Got 7th in this tournament as well. I guess we can take a look at Deci. And this is going to be Inteleon Decidueye, which is a list that, kind of quietly crept on. I think it won a couple smaller tournaments, like very decisively early on in this format. But then people kind of started teching for Deci, and then it kind of shied away for a bit. So it's really interesting to see it here now, right? I mean, and I don't know if we actually took a look at it last week, but this is the new way, really, that people are playing Decidueye, which is cool, right? We're running the Shady Dealings Inteleon, but we're also running the Quick Shooting Inteleon to do those extra damage. And of course, that those are Pokemon that we can utilize their attacks. However, the Shady Dealings one, we can't. We're not running any Aurora energies. But that's not really the point here. The point is that we're going to be able to kind of slowly chip away, while also kind of consistently finding the trainer cards that we need with the Shady Dealings engine. Running a 4-3-3 lineup of the Inteleons, and then we have a 4-1-4 lineup of the Rowlets. So, again, it is Decidueye. Our whole goal here is to evolve into Decidueye, get the lockdown. We have the big Parasols. We can kind of chip away with the Quick Shooting, Splitting Arrow, do a lot of bench damage here. We do have Malalana, which I do like in Decidueye, so it's an interesting list for sure. We have Snack Search, Munchlax, we have Snorlax as well, so we're definitely not decking out here. I like this list. I do. I think if you're going to play Decidueye, which is an interesting choice right now in our format, there's a lot of different decks going on right now. Decidueye is one of those decks one of those things that can just always kind of creep into the format when you least expect it and get some really big upsets. We haven't really, I don't think, seen that yet in any big tournament, but nonetheless, it is definitely cool to kind of take a look at. And so if you're a Decidueye player, this might be, what you're interested in. And this is kind of, to me, what seems to be like the new way that people are playing it. Okay, so we'll move off this tournament. We spent quite a bit of time on this Yusha Cup. I guess now we can look at the Jiao Cup. Although this was closed deck list, so we can't actually take a look. We're not going to be able to. Oh no, we can. Okay, never mind. It said closed deck, but I suppose it's not closed deck list. I don't know exactly what's going on with all this. But, okay, so we'll take a look at things that we haven't taken a look at yet. Alpaca279 here, he was playing Inteleon Urshifu. And we saw a very similar list to this earlier, except he was running the Moltres. Now, instead of running the Moltres kind of dark engine, we're running Inteleon, which is a bit more consistent. But it's very interesting, actually, because we're running Tapu Koko with 2 basic energies. So there's a lot going on in this list. Again, I don't know if this is the most optimal way to play Urshifu Inteleon. But the good thing about this format right now is that so many deck lists and so many archetypes, they're just kind of blown open. And there's so many different ways to play these lists that really have been kind of refined for a long time now. Now that Chilling Reign came out, things have just kind of reset, and people are going absolutely crazy playing creative lists, and that's something that I actually really like. Especially as a content creator, somebody who's running events, we get to see all these awesome deck lists. So this is just another example of that. Rapid Strike Urshifu, it's a very common list, a deck that we've kind of seen all the time now. Or at least for the last like 3-4 months. And now, this deck list almost looks like completely different than what it was, in the last format. So that's honestly what I just really like about this new format, and this seems like a really fun list as well. I like the Passimian, I like the Telescopic Sight with Quick Shooting Inteleon. Really cool. The Tapu Koko Prism Star, though, is a little bit out in left field, but I do like it. I do like that. It's just a little bit strange, but definitely super cool. What else we got to take a look at? We can take a look at E-Turn. We haven't actually taken a look at E-Turn yet. And this is very, E-Turn is still kind of plain Jane. There's not too much crazy stuff going on with Eternatus lists right now. But this is definitely probably what I would be playing if I was playing E-Turn. There's 2 kind of ways to play it. You can play it with Weavile, or you can play it just with a high energy switch count. They both kind of function the same way. With Weavile, you have to kind of get an earlier setup, but with energy switch, you kind of hope to just draw into them when you want them. So I mean, we're running 4-4 E-Turn count, 4 Crobat, 4 Goons, all normal stuff. But we have 1 Yveltal, that's pretty, typical. classic E-turn. But we have 2 of the new Moltres, which is how we accelerate dark energies from our discard pile to the Moltres, and then we can energy switch them onto our Eternatus. And then, of course, we have a Liepard V, which is really only here because, of course, we need to populate our bench with basic Pokemon or just Pokemon in general. And Liepard is a really good tool card because it just works as a tool scrapper, but it's a Pokemon. So you play it and you can knock off tool cards of your opponent. Other than that, we're running Chaotic Swell, a couple of Weak Guard energies in here, so nothing in here is too crazy. Again, a lot of people have debated that Weak Guard energy doesn't actually really do much in that Rapid Strike Urshifu matchup, but I suppose it's still probably worth running it. I don't know. We'll see. Most of the time, Rapid Strike Urshifu beats you because you're benching things like Crobat, Moltres, and Liepard, which are 2 prize Pokemon that can be easily brought up and sniped from the bench with Urshifu. So that's typically the big problem in this matchup. But, I suppose Weak Guard energy, protect your E-turns, gives you at least a little bit of a better chance, in theory. Let's take a look at Ice Rider. I don't think we've taken a look at Ice Rider today. And this is going to be the Inteleon version of Ice Rider. There's 2 main ways to play it. The version that I covered on my channel like about a week or 2 ago was the Cinccino version of Ice Rider, which is a very good list, very good deck in my opinion, but this seems to be the more popular and typically the more successful list a couple weeks into the format that people have kind of decided to play. And again, you'll see this this Inteleon shady dealings, quick shooting engine, very common in this format. Realistically, this has kind of been the MVP of Chilling Reign. This is the card that sees the most play. Really, it sees play in Urshifu, ADP. It saw play in Ice Rider. A lot of different decks are playing this Inteleon because it is really good. It sees play in Inteleon as well. But yeah, Ice Rider. So everything else is pretty cool here. Although there is an Avery, but I think this Avery might be here for the E-turn matchup. I actually don't know, but interesting nonetheless. I like the Evil Admonition Hoopa for the Shadow Rider matchup. Definitely cool. Cool to see that for sure. And yeah, 3 Path to the Peaks. So Path to the Peak, Calyrex is definitely a good list. It's definitely a good archetype, and I do think that Path to the Peak is very beneficial in Calyrex in a lot of matchups. Yeah, here it is, Ice Rider. If you're playing Ice Rider right now, I think this is a very good core to take a look at. I think this is a really great list to base your list off of, if I'm being honest. Okay. All right, we're gonna move on. I know there's a lot of cool lists there that we could take a look at, but we got to cover some other tournaments. We got to kind of spread the wealth here. So I guess the next one we can take a look at is going to be Thursday, number 22 of PTCGO series. 127 players, won by Wykeen. And let's take a look here. So ADP Moltres did win this event, so we can take a look at that. I think that's probably the main list that we'll take a look at for this tournament. We're trying to just hit all the bases here. And okay, so this is ADP box or ADP pile or it's ADP Toolbox list. At this point, ADP Zacian is a lot different than it used to be. I'll tell you that much. There's a lot of things going on here that typically you wouldn't have seen, especially not the new cards from Chilling Reign. But yeah, so 2 ADP, 2 Dedenne, 2 Zacian V, all cards that are familiar to ADP. Same with Crobat, Eldegoss, Mawile. The only addition here is we did cut a couple of Zacians, and we added things like Moltres V in here, Galarian Zapdos V, and we have an Oricorio GX thrown in here. So it's a very cool list. There's a lot of different things you can do. Of course, we can attack with Moltres. That's going to be really good on Shadow Rider. Not only can we just do 190 damage, but it's actually 220 after the ADP boost, which is just going to be good in any matchup, really. And it's obviously really just a really good card to accelerate energies to it. Galarian Zapdos V, that's going to help us with the E-turn matchup. Zacian, of course, just really good in its own right. So those are our main attackers. Lots of different support Pokemon here. I like Tool Scrapper. I like Echoing Horn. Great Catcher, 1 Escape Rope. Lots of 1-ofs in here that are actually really relevant to a lot of different matchups. And I think that if you're running this ADP, Viridian Forest comes in again. Viridian Forest is such an OG ADP card. For a long time, people did run Viridian in ADP because it was a very consistent card in the list, so you could find those water energies, while also discarding the metal energies to use Metal Saucer. So it actually works both ways here because we want to discard the dark energies to use with Galarian Moltres, but we also want to discard the metal energy so we can Metal Saucer them onto our Zacian. So everything kind of fits in here really well. It's a really clever ADP list. I've said it a few times. I think we took a look at a very similar one last week, and it's still probably my favorite list of this format. Actually, I just like utilizing all of these different cards and kind of finding the best routes in all the different matchups. So definitely awesome. And that was Wykeen, so shout out to Wykeen for sure. What else can we take a look at here? What is this? Is this Gardevoir? Is this? Oh, this is Gardevoir VMAX, man. Okay. This is very interesting. But actually, I like this. I really do. you know, with Cresselia, it becomes extremely more viable to actually get those 3 energies onto a Gardevoir. And Gardevoir is a very powerful attacker, realistically. I mean, 180 for 3, very similar to Malamar in terms of its kind of damage output, except we're a Psychic type, and instead of kind of being a more control-style deck where we're taking a card out of our opponent's hand, we're actually healing damage from ourselves in the process. And we're kind of healing even more so with things like Suspicious Food Tin, to heal that extra damage off, but mainly I think we're just here to kind of consistently hit away for 180, and on our second turn going second, right? So I actually really like this. 4 rows as well with Articuno, so it's yeah, man. I don't know. This might be my new favorite of the video. It's hard to say. There's so many cool lists. Like, I have such a good time recording these videos now. Back in the last few formats, it was just like the same 5 decks. We would take a look at it. It was good to take a look at those lists, but now in Chilling Reign, every tournament, every time we take a look at a new deck list, it's every week there's something different. And Gardevoir VMAX, man. Yeah, man. I might have to make a Gardevoir VMAX video too. There's a lot of videos I need to make, and I need to get on my grind and cover some videos. So, man, Gardevoir VMAX, like, you love to see it. You really do. I mean, that is just like, that's the stuff right there. There's a Naganadel Guzzlord. Sure, yeah, we'll take a look at that. Why not? Here it is. I don't know. I don't even know what this card does. I never played this card, so I apologize. We have a Beastbringer in here. Shout out to old Blacephalon running Beastbringer. Again, excuse me. Yeah, I don't have much to say about this. It seems to kind of just be like a Psychic Dark Toolbox deck, and Naganadel Guzzlord kind of fits in there pretty well. But again, I don't know the strategy for the list. I don't know how this deck really works. I know we have Moltres and we have energy switches, so I mean that's kind of the basic core of the energy acceleration. But other than that, it seems to just be a Psychic type attackers, Dark type attackers. We even have a Zapdos thrown in here, so we're kind of running Psychic, Dark, Fighting, and that's a really dangerous trio right now. That's kind of the power triangle. So not going to spend too much time on this list. I apologize, but this one is definitely pretty cool for sure. And again, guys, just so you guys know, like, we're not going to actually take a look at the decks from Chill series, because I did that in a separate video this past week where we take a look at the top 16 deck lists. So if you guys haven't seen that, highly recommend you go check that out and see what decks actually did the best at Chill series, which typically is, you know, the biggest tournament of the week. So, you know, that's a whole separate thing that I do for sure. What else do we have to possibly take a look at? So we just took a look at Thursday. We could take a look at Yosefi Thursday Madness, but I think we took a look at... oh, no, we didn't. So, yeah, I think we'll end on Yosefi Thursday Madness. Yeah, 100 players. Cool. That seems to kind of be like the threshold that we're taking a look at. Okay, so we took a look at E-Turn already. Let's take a look at Blaziken Aurora. Let's end the video on Blaziken Aurora. Yeah, so this is kind of Rapid Strike box, except typically with Rapid Strike Toolbox, we also have Urshifu thrown in here, which is debatable whether that's actually better than just going straight Blaziken and Aurora. This was probably one of the most hyped decks to come out of Chilling Reign when that set was first released. When Chilling Reign was first released, it was a little bit more clunky than people really thought it would be, but it's still seen some play. It's actually seen quite a bit of success. Relatively. I mean, not so much as maybe some of the other decks that are seeing play, but it is really fun. It's really impressive. There's a lot of sequencing involved as well, so it's a pretty difficult deck to play, but definitely a really fun list, and I know a lot of you guys really like Blaziken's Aurora, so here it is. Everything in here is pretty normal. We have the Passimian, we have Telescopic Sight, all Rapid Strike Pokemon, so we're really able to do massive damage to the bench with Aurora. And Blaziken is just actually a really interesting VMAX. I think that Blaziken will see a lot more play, like, just in the future. I think that it's a really good option. There's not a lot of really relevant metal-type decks that, obviously, teching in a Blaziken is super useful for. Obviously, it's good in ADP, you know, to KO those Zacians, but the thing is, ADP's running so many other attackers to where, like, it doesn't even need to really go through Zacian. So, obviously, you know, that's a strategy. Same with Aurora. Like, what's weak to Lightning right now? I guess Inteleon. But, you know, we're only hitting for 200 damage. So it's, you know, there's nothing really too super relevant when it comes to hitting for weakness with this list, but it is really fun. And if you kind of get the combos working, and if the deck kind of rolls correctly for you, it can be absolutely incredible to see this damage output from this list. So, yeah, I mean, there's Blaziken's Aurora. Was there anything else from this tournament before we go? I guess we got to give some love to Spiritomb, just because Spiritomb seems to be potentially the best single prize archetype in our format right now, which they're not very popular. There's less like tag teams. There's a lot more VMAXs, which makes it harder for things like Spiritomb or even Blacephalon to do super well in this format. Yeah, so here's Hoopa, or not Hoopa, Spiritomb. And this seems to kind of be pretty standard, I think. Yeah, as far as Spiritomb goes, nothing too crazy or out of the ordinary. But Spiritomb is really good. It's really good. You're a dark type. You're hitting for weakness on Shadow Rider Calyrex, which is the best deck in our format. Unless you think Luke Metal is. So, you know, those kind of, to me, seem to be the two best. But, yeah, you're hitting for weakness on Calyrex. You can also do really well against other single prize archetypes. You can do well against decks that play a lot of tag team Pokemon. So it's pretty viable. I mean, I don't think it's, you know, I don't think it's, like, that great, really, in this format right now. But I do think that it is really cool. And, again, another really high skill level to Spiritomb. I mean, sequencing properly, playing all the cards in the right order with this list is really difficult. Knowing your matchup spread, there's a lot of things that go into playing Spiritomb correctly, and most people kind of drop it. And that's, I think, maybe a big reason why Spiritomb doesn't see as much play or as much success, because most people, every game, every turn, you have to be thinking really in depth with Spiritomb, and because of that, it's probably not going to be the most popular deck in the world. But it is a really cool archetype, and I'm glad that Spike Myth and Escape Rope really made this deck possible, honestly. Okay. Well, anyway, guys, that is about 30 minutes of talking about a bunch of really cool deck lists, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Again, one of my favorite videos every week. It's really educational for me. Realistically, it's a whole lot of fun to take a look at everything that's seeing success, or all these different lists that people are playing to all these different online events. And it kind of makes me really excited for Chill Series number 38, which is, of course, tomorrow. So you guys can go and register for that. Link to register will be down in the description below, or you can just come right here to play.limitless.com. Shout out to the people at Limitless. They're great. This is where we host our tournaments every week, and here it is, Chill Series number 38. Go and register. So yeah, we're going to get out of here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comment section below what else you would like to see in these videos, these weekly video series, where we talk about the best decks and the meta analysis. Love to hear your guys' opinions. As always, don't forget to like the video, subscribe. I've been Maddie from Chill TCG. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys probably tomorrow. Maybe not tomorrow. I don't know. We'll have to see. It's Chill Series. It's Wednesday. But we'll definitely see you guys Thursday. All right. Peace out, guys. Have a good one. We'll see you guys next time.